Made the whole year in a week too. Main chick out of their league too. Side chick out of their league too.
What's up, guys? Hey. So I'm gonna be filming my coming out video. I've been wanting to do this for a while. So my whole coming out process was really just that, a process. It was really not an easy thing for me. It wasn't so much hard because of the people around me. The biggest hurdle for me was myself, was because I give myself a really hard time. So I knew I was interested in women and girls. Like the first time I realized was when I was 12. So I would notice just like clothing advertisements, lingerie advertisements, and I would find the women attractive. I'd find them, I'd get turned on, you know, my little prepubescent self. Anyway, so I knew I was attracted to women, but for some reason, and I have a lot of theories about why. I think it's because like my family was like semi-religious growing up. Like I went to Sunday school from like 3rd grade to about 8th grade. So I would go to Sunday school and like I don't remember them ever talking about gay people being a sin or anything like that. But I think what really affected me, because I was a very impressionable kid, the lack of representation I feel really affected me. So like I would watch Disney movies, I went to Sunday school like I said, and there was always the image, the idea of like men and women get married, like that's what you do, like that's just a thing you do in life. You like go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get married to a man if you're a woman, of course, and you have kids, and that's life. Like that's what you're supposed to do. So when I realized I was attracted to women, I was really, really hard on myself. I was like, this is wrong, you can't do this. Like, and I had such a guilty conscience, and honestly I still do. I'm still like this. I'm so anxious. I was like, what are mom and dad gonna think if they like know that you're like being like sexually aroused by women, being attracted to women? I was very like ashamed of sex for a long time. I was very repressed as a kid and in my teenage years as well. I just like every time I would see a girl or like see an advertisement of a woman that I was attracted to, or like a girl I had feelings for, I would always come up with all kinds of excuses. Oh, your best friend? It was just because she's really nice. It's normal to like want to kiss your friend sometimes. Like it's like how you kiss your sister. It's the same thing. Girls can be super, super close or closer than like guy friends are, although that's not true at all. Or like when I would see like advertisements, for example, I would rationalize that. Like my 12-year-old self would rationalize this by saying, oh, it's just because women are hypersexualized in the media. Because women are hypersexualized in the media. They're very like, it's very common. You just walk down the street and you'll see like cleavage on a billboard somewhere, or in the mall, there's lingerie stores, you know, like in commercials on TV. Anyway, you get the idea. So I just thought like, oh, it's because women are always presented as sexual that I'm seeing them this way. But, and I also want to add that because of all this repression of like trying to fit this narrative that just I'm never gonna fit, didn't work. I tried to fit that for a long time, didn't work, don't do it, just not worth it. But I want to add that in trying to do that, I became very sad, depressed. I went through this like phase in my life where like I did try to date a guy, unfortunately, and I just, again, in that relationship I made up all kinds of excuses as to like why it wasn't working, why there was no like chemistry, there wasn't any like real spark. And it's sad to say, but now I have a lot of trauma and regrets because of that. Imagine like forcing yourself to be intimate with someone you're not attracted to. Like, it just doesn't work. It'll never work. Like, I much prefer being scrutinized and like being discriminated against and getting like weird comments by like extended family members and people on the street than trying to be someone I'm not. So then when I was with this person that I mentioned, this male, I was like having more and more feelings of being attracted to women while being in this relationship. So I wasn't being super emotionally faithful, which is the truth, couldn't help it. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm attracted to both, because the thing is, and an important thing to note is, I didn't choose to come out of the closet, if you understand. It's more like and I remember seeing this in a article online, but they phrased it really well. It's like I fell out of the closet. It's like I could not take it anymore. I could not take living this huge lie that I had constructed for myself, that I had constructed for the people around me. Because honestly, at the end of the day, who the fuck cares what people think about you, so long as you're happy, healthy, and you're safe. Like, I understand having to lie to people about whatever it is, or like your sexuality, for example, as we're talking about now, for safety reasons. I understand that, but like, there was no real reason for me. It's just that like I had this narrative in my head since I was little that this is what you're supposed to do in your life, and it just didn't add up for me. Like, and now it's really funny looking back at different experiences I had growing up as a child and as a teenager. There was so many signs, like, oh my god, I ignored so many signs. Like, it was so fucking obvious that I was a huge flaming homosexual. Like, it's just obvious. Like, I had such a big thing for my best friend in high school, and like I said earlier, I just made up all kinds of excuses as to like why I was feeling that way, why I wanted to I was like always visualizing her naked and like all kinds of crazy things like that. I was such a virgin in high school too. I just didn't want to have anything to do with that. And then it sort of just felt like I felt really pressured. I felt like I had to be physical with someone, and that leads to all the trauma. So yeah, just don't do that. Just don't be anxious. Don't care. Just like, honestly, when I have kids, I want them to have options. I want to tell them like, okay, straight people exist. They're the majority. They're like, I think it's 92%. I have to check the statistics. But anyway, I think straight people are like 92%, and then LGBT, etc. are 8%. There's like 1% that are trans. There's, I think it's 7 that are the rest. So yeah, that would make sense. That's what adds up to 100. Yeah, there's a good amount of bi people. There's lesbians. There's gays. There's people who are like kind of in the middle. There's non-binaries. Like, there's all kinds of different identities and sexualities. And if you have a certain body, doesn't mean you have to look or dress a certain way. Just because you look a certain way doesn't mean you have to be attracted to a certain demographic of people. Like, if your skin color is this way or whatever, like, oh my god, I want them to have options. I don't want them to be like how I was, where I just thought I had one option and you were a freak of nature, and I would beat myself up about being attracted to women at that young age, like 12, 13. I'd feel so guilty, so guilty. I thought it was wrong as fuck. Like, I thought it was, yeah. Anyway, so I was dating this person, and I realized I was having more and more attractions towards women, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. Like, I just couldn't ignore it anymore. So I was like doing research online. So I would like do Google searches, like, what does this mean? Like, I would do like sexuality quizzes that like kids do, like trying to figure out. But those quizzes, like, they only help me to a certain extent, obviously, because the questions are very to the point. They're like, are you attracted to women? Are you attracted to men? And I thought I was still attracted to men because I was still in a relationship with a guy, so I didn't realize that the feelings that I was having weren't actually romantic, because, especially looking back now, those were platonic friendship feelings. And I especially realized that after I got out of that relationship and had male friends, which I'd never really had before. Like I had some in elementary school, but not in my adolescence. I had the same kind of feelings towards my friends, and I knew I did not want to sleep with them. I knew I was not romantically involved with them, and it's only because I was older and had more experience that I realized that like my first experience with the guy was not, like I was not attracted to that person. So anyways, I decided I was bisexual. I thought, okay, like clearly I'm in a relationship with this person, that must mean I love them and I'm attracted to them, which was not true. And I could not ignore the fact that I was attracted to women, but at that point I didn't know if I could fall in love with a woman because I had never done so before, and the idea of it seemed a bit strange because the whole LGBT plus community was still very new to me. I didn't know anything about it. I was such a baby dyke, like I just didn't know anything. So I identified as bisexual, and I told my boyfriend at the time. I hate saying that word, it's so triggering. Anyways, still triggering. So I told them, and they asked some questions like, how do you know? And I don't even remember what they asked. But then, this is where the fun part happened. I was adamant on sleeping with the woman. I needed to have that experience. I knew that I was attracted to women. I knew that I did not want to die without having experienced that. So I told my partner, and I mean, like at that point I should have realized, like and I understand there's poly people and people with open relationships and whatever, but for me personally, I am 1000% monogamous, and if I feel attraction to someone else in a relationship or like want to sleep with someone else when I'm in a relationship, to me, and this is for me, I speak for myself only, it means I do not love the person I am with. Simple, like you can disagree, whatever, that's just me. So at that point, I should have realized that like, okay, maybe I don't like this person that much if I want to like go exploring outside of the relationship. So anyways, I wanted to do that, and I expressed that to them, and they were completely fine with it, which some people might be like, oh, that's great, like super supportive person, but that's what I thought at the time. But now reflecting back, to me that means they didn't love me either. So I went on Tinder and I found a cute little French girl, and we hooked up, and it was great. And then I told my partner about it, and I was like, I need to keep doing this. Like I can't be in this relationship and not be open. I want to keep sleeping around with girls because pussy's amazing. And then a month later we broke up. So then after we broke up, I had no friends anymore because, well, like I had three friends that stuck around, but like I wasn't really like seeing them much because like I was going through such a rough patch with like all this shit that was happening, because like lying to yourself that much and putting yourself through that experience when you really like shouldn't have to go through that, it's really hard on your mental health and on your body. So like I didn't really have anyone I felt I could like really open up to, because all the female, I only had girlfriends at that point, like female friends, not like a romantic girlfriend at that point. So they were straight as well, and I wasn't very open about it. It's not on them, it was just me. It was just me. Like it could have been anybody. And I'm still friends with all those people. I love them. I love them so much. So then I met someone else, this friend. I don't want to name their name. Let's call them John. So John and I were really close friends. They introduced me to a whole bunch of new people, all super nice, and I felt really welcomed by them. It was a really good experience initially. But anyway, those people, a lot of them were queer, so that helped me like kind of like realize, like, it gave me more incentive to like explore myself more, because at that point I was very repressed. I identify as bisexual at that point, but still like would bury feelings a lot, didn't really like talk about my feelings that much. And like with those new people I met, they were queer and out. Yeah, so it was refreshing. It was like, okay, like queer people actually exist outside of my body. Then I met this girl through these people, and I was hell-bent on dating a woman, okay? I was like, fuck men, they ain't good for shit. And like, I still stand by that. So I was like, I am not getting into another relationship with a man, like I just cannot do it. And like in my mind, I wasn't like, oh, it's because I'm gay, it's just because I didn't want to. Although now I realize it's because I don't want to, because I'm a fucking lesbian. So I was hell-bent on dating a woman, and there was this girl, she was cute, but I was like actively avoiding her because I didn't think it would work out. Like I was that much of a, yeah. So it was scary. Girls were freaking scary back then. They still are. They're insane. I love girls. I love women. Anyways, so anyway, we ended up having a thing. We didn't really date, but she didn't want to put a label on it, basically. You know those girls? Yeah, stay away. So she didn't want to put a label on it, but we ended up kind of like having a thing for about 2 weeks. And that was kind of like my first experience with a girl. And then I was like, at that point, it made me kind of realize, not like her made me realize, but like being around like more queer people and like being like away from the toxicity that was lying to myself and being with a guy and all that, made me realize that like I wanted nothing to do with men. And I wasn't even attracted to men. Like I would walk, like, cause I was at stage up, like I told you, and I would do like little experiments, kind of like where I'd like walk down the hall and be like, okay, like, who do you find attractive? Sophia, who do you find attractive? So I'd be like, that girl, boobies, you know, like, be like walking down the halls and stuff. But no, guys, like I can tell when men are considered good looking, like, but I don't want to touch them. I don't want to like kiss them or like, none of that, no. So yeah, and then I was taking different classes, and then I met my current girlfriend, and she like helped me a lot. And I was trying to figure out who I was, so like she would like ask me questions to like prompt my like thought process, because I was in such denial, I guess, and such like holding on to the fact that maybe I could still be with a guy or something, you know, that like early childhood conditioning. Anyway, yeah, now I just like proudly accept and know that I am a fucking dyke. I'm a lesbian, and that's never gonna change. And I've never not been gay. Like, that's the thing, like some people's sexuality is fluid and that's great for them, but mine is not and never was. Like the reason why I have all these issues now and all this trauma is because I am gay. It's not because like, oh, that one guy like did something to me and like turned me gay, or like I just haven't found the right guy. Like, oh, you've only been with one guy, like you don't know, you don't have experience. Like I've heard it all before, shut up. Like, no, that's not the case. The reason why I have the problems that I have in terms of that is because I ignored who I was. Like, if you're a straight man, for example, or a straight woman, and you like force yourself to be with the same sex, like you're gonna have problems later, for sure. You're gonna be traumatized. Like, that's not because like, oh, you just haven't found the right same-sex person. No. But yeah, like that was like coming out to myself. Like when I realized like, okay, I'm homosexual. Like, first person who knew obviously was the person I was dating. Sarah, my beautiful wife. So she knew, and then I like told all my friends. I was like, I only like women, and it was kind of like a problem for them because John, problematic John, had prepping for me, and it was just a huge mess. And then he like did some non-consensual things that will be a whole other video. I just want to talk about all this like stuff that I've been through with you guys, just to like try to help other people and to kind of like get it off my chest at the same time. Anyway, so then I decided I need to tell my family. My dad would always make like homophobic comments. It really bothered me and I wanted that to stop. And I think the reason why he made so many comments is because like he suspected. Like I came home with like half my head shaved and like numerous girls, not like at the same time, but like I was, you know, dating around. I would make comments, you know, because I had my friend John over a lot, and he'd be like, oh, like, are you sure you guys aren't dating? Like, are you sure this and that? And like he would ask questions like, oh, but like, or not questions, but like he would say things like, guys and girls can't be friends, and I'd be like, what about gay people? You know, so that's like, I'd kind of like hint like that. That was like that was a huge hint, you know, but he wouldn't say anything. So I think he like picked up on it a little bit, and he would just like make derogatory comments. Like he never like meant harm, but like it's just rude and uncalled for. And he's just from that generation where like to them it's just like jokes, like it's no big deal, it's just a joke, like just whatever, you know. But like when you're struggling with your identity in that way, that's another thing that made it really hard for me to come out, is that like I really was scared that my dad was not gonna accept me. Like I was really scared. Like I knew my mom was gonna accept me. I'm sorry if I'm talking fast. I knew my mom was gonna accept me, but I thought maybe she would like maybe have a hard time. But then when I did, like I was like, once I move out, I'm telling them. Like that's like in my mind I was like, that's the perfect time. Like I'm not dependent on them anymore, whatever. So I moved to downtown Montreal. I texted my mother because I did not want to call her, I did not want to hear her voice in case she didn't react well. Like, and I honestly suggest this for you guys if like you don't know how someone will react, but like you're hell bent on telling them. Like if you're like really scared, you don't know how they react, maybe just don't tell them. Like that's, I think, good advice as well, especially if you're dependent on them. If you are living with, let's say, homophobic parents, it may not be the best idea to come out to them, even though like I completely understand like why you need to come out, because it's so hard to live in the closet. It's just so hard. So I decided to text her, and she was like, oh, like, because I was like, I have something to tell you, and I was like, I'm crying. Like I texted her everything like that was going on, and she was like, oh my god, like what's going on? She was like, do you want me to call you? Like what's up? My mom is so caring. She was so nice. So I was like, no, I need to text this to you. So then I just texted her, I am gay. Like just like, I'm gay. Like I am gay. And then she was super supportive. She was like, you know, like I had a feeling, you know, I'm not super surprised. Like when you were younger, you never really expressed interest in boys. And like she told me all kinds of things that I was like, oh damn, like I've been gay since I was this big. So yeah, I do believe that like gayness is hereditary. Not hereditary necessarily, but like genetic, which means hereditary. Anyway, to an extent at least. I think there may be a genetic component. I'm no scientist. Anyways, so then I texted my dad months later, honestly. Like oh, by the way, like all my sisters knew before I told my mom. So yeah, and I told my dad months later. I was like, I am gay. And he was like, he took a little while to get back to me, like more than 30 seconds kind of deal. And I was like, but then he texted me back and he was like, I accept you the same, and with like a little heart. And I was like, it ended up good. Anyway, that was my really, really long coming out story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye.
They talking about you, you don't see the shade. Switch up your style, you take any lane. Switch up your cup.